I grew up with both my mother and my father. To this day, they both 79 years old.
That's beautiful. God bless.
Being with them, right?
Right.
But I've also been in my daughter's life for 16 and a half years, and she's 18 now. Me and her mother had a big problem during Corona, and that's how it's been going down. Do y'all ever think, and I'm not trying to offend nobody's mother and nothing like that, do y'all ever think that the situations with y'all moms could have been detriment to the situation with the relationship with you and your father? Because it goes down like that. Because me and my daughter, he'll tell you, we was thick as thieves. My daughter was supposed to be managing me at 16. She was getting calls in school about managing her father.
Right.
And she's like, Dad, well, what am I supposed to do? Call him when you get from school.
But here's the thing.
Right.
What you're saying is valid. And there is truth to that.
Okay.
But from the books and from the universe and from God, as men, there's no excuses once you produce life.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, I would say,
and follow what I'm saying.
Are the laws in our favor?
Follow what I'm saying.
To fight through the excuses.
I know that there's so many things that can happen, and I get that.
right.
I get it. You know what I'm saying? But as men, we have to walk through the fire with bare feet. Period. When it comes to our children. Period.
I kind of appreciate my father's negligence, and the reason when you find acceptance for who you are, and you realize your path was uniquely set like this. I look at my life and I be like, yo, if my pops is around, I might not be Math Hoffa. I like being Math Hoffa. It's cool as shit. You feel what I'm saying? Like, so for me, it's like, it's okay, Pop. Maybe you wasn't supposed to be there. Maybe I was supposed to be just a stronger individual on my own.
But the reality is that is rationalizing trauma. And that's what we do as black people. To take your mindset back to 400 years or 500 years ago, and a man is with his wife, and they rip his wife away from him in front of his kids, and they rape his wife.
Right.
Literally in front of him. And then take his kids and smack them around, and yo, you go pick up the big wood and da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
These things pass down through genetics. So now the next generation comes a little softer. The next generation comes a little more humble, a little softer. I don't want to buck up. And then we get to where we are now. I respect what you're saying, so I'm not trying to minimize your feelings, but that's rationalizing trauma, because here's how I look at it.
When I say I wouldn't say rationalize.
Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what, just hear me out. I've had that conversation with people. Oh man, look at where you at. If your pops was in your life, maybe I would be greater. Maybe I would be more, maybe I would have had more to pull from to be a greater person than I am now. Because I feel like this part of my life, like I said, my mom's is incredible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She did more than double duty, because she was educating half of New York all this time, taking care of all these kids and her own. But what if? We'll never know. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say rationalizing trauma, because the mind is designed that way to make sense of things so that you keep your sanity.
But this is where hold on.
Yeah.
But this is where I have to disagree with you. Rationalizing trauma. I think that a lot of the other generations did that, and they carry it. They also carry stigmas. They carry negative perceptions. And looking, no shots at my brothers and sisters, but I feel like there was an effect on them that wasn't on me.
You mean your actual blood brothers and sisters?
Yes, who spent more time around him than I did. I feel like there was an effect that happened there that I was spared.
Like what, Math?
That's interesting what you're saying.
I'm just curious. Like,
Okay, all right.
Mental strength or something?
Let's say there's a...
I agree.
You got a father, you understand what I'm saying, right? If you have a father that has just any type of mental issue or addiction or anything like that, you grow up in that household, it's gonna affect you.
Gotcha.
I saw it affect my brother.
So he grew up in the
Georgie.
house. So he grew up in the house with your father?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, go ahead.
But that's a
I
little.
was
but
kind of
that-
spared that. I was like,
But see, that's a.
I didn't get to see that. I just heard like, oh, my pops knocked people out. That's cool. I'm gonna do it too. That's it.
That's a little different because
You know what I mean?
if you're saying there was a specific issue, we're talking about a general issue of absence.
Right.
That's different. If you're saying, oh, you know, my pops was this way because it's such and such, or my pops was this way because it's such and such, that's a different, or my pops came back from Vietnam and he was on heroin or whatever, and
Right.
you know, obviously, like a child is gonna be a product of their environment. So if there's an unhealthy relationship with the moms and the pops, that's what they mirror.
Right.
You know, most times, right?
Right.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about absence. Like the purpose of living is to be a conduit for the light, period. I don't care what nobody say. You know what I'm saying? We all go through things that people have been through things, and that's why I walk with respect, because you never know where someone's coming from.
Right.
And I've traveled this world,
He's talking about how absence actually made him a better person, and that's
Right.
true. There's a possibility. Part of the problem with us as a culture is we hold on to titles. Right?
Yes.
We talk, that's my brother, so he shouldn't do this. Instead of, this is another human being.
Human being, yes.
That's my
Yeah,
father.
yes.
And I don't know why he's doing that, as opposed to, that man went through hell.
yeah.
And basically, I need you to push off the hell you're going through to be this title to me.
Right.
We get caught up in that way too much, and we make humans inhumane through titles sometimes.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you. 100%.
But I understand what he's saying also,
No, I'm
because the
saying-
way I feel towards my kids is I could never.
Right, but here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Because for every father you're talking about that's missing, you can equally talk about two-parent households where people still had trauma.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it's not one thing or the other. But what we do is we get into titles and we forget to look at things in case-by-case basis.
Right. I agree with you.
So
in that.
what this brother's going through with his
Daughter.
it's probably because, no offense, but it's probably because the mom is looking at things as the tropes have come down the line.
Right.
He ain't doing this and he ain't doing that. Instead of saying, let me learn who this man is individually,
Right.
right? The thing that bonded me and my ex-wife, I always look at her as a human being that's separate of me, who has their own ideas, their own beliefs, and somehow between mine and hers, we have to make it work for the kids. But we could have easily fallen into, well, that bitch.
Yeah.
I definitely did a lot of that bitch. I ain't gonna cap. I ain't even gonna cap.
But I did a lot of that bitch. So what I'm saying is that once you start laying titles on people, you stop looking at them as individuals. Once you say he's a rapper, you stop looking at him as an individual.
As a
You miss out
person,
all
a
of
man,
the
Things that
make
come along.
him
Right.
who he
Exactly.
is.
But, oh, you said
Exactly.
rationalizing trauma, right?
Yeah.
You gotta remember, therapy is something maybe 8 years now that's been accepted in the Black community.
It's still being accepted.
Right.
But before,
But before it was like,
imagine
oh, you
if,
crazy?
Imagine if Kane's in the early 90s said I had a therapist. Oh my God, his career's over.
Yeah.
His career's over.
Let's go back.
Like a therapist, was you crazy? Kane's crazy.
But this is therapy.
No, but
we talk to
we're
people.
we're
and
building.
And you know what's up? Hold on.
Title.
What?
Therapy.
Title.
What therapy?
Because you say therapist.
Right.
But if you break it down like what he was about to say, well, this is therapy. I agree.
Right.
But we're supposed to be strong. We don't need no help.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to cry.
It's not that we don't need
That's not
help.
No, I'm saying that's
Perception.
The
He's talking about
perception as a
perception.
Black man, we gotta be tough. A rapper that can't fight, he ain't selling no records.
Listen,
not
one
the
of the
perception on
beautiful
this
things
show,
about New York City. One of the beautiful things about New York City, you could take the train
Yeah.
and have the deepest conversation with a complete stranger.
Strangers.
That's so true.
that will drop jewels that they don't even know they dropping. And you're like, oh man, and you get off the train,
In your life
the
is
1,
different.
2, the A, the whatever. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. So I hear what you're saying, Charles, and it's valid. I guess where I'm coming from is kids aren't made by accident. Yeah. Life isn't born by accident. It's intentional. So if you have an intent to do something, if you have an intent to, we're going to go do this show, oh, I forgot the lyrics. Oh, I don't have my, that's not a part, no.
Right.
That's unacceptable.
Right.
And I'm right? Am I making sense? You with me?
Yes.
So when we have a child, it's like we have to do our best. And sometimes part of that is growth. Like some people don't know. Right? They, like me, that's why I wrote the book. I ain't had no father, and I became a father, and sometimes I'll be in the room with my kids, and they'll tell you. I'll be like, yo, how did all y'all get here? What's going on? And this and that and the other. And the other thing is, I'm not one of them pops that's like, I know everything. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I wake up, my oldest daughter, I'm like, I've never been the father of a 22-year-old.
Exactly.
But you learned how to be one.
I'm
But you
trying
learned, right.
today.
But
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But showing yourself that grace is what makes you a well-rounded person. What
Facts.
you were talking about is having distance, because I too come from a family of 5. I'm 9 years younger than my brothers and my sister, and I look at them and said to them one day, you have yet to understand the trauma that you have survived. I had the benefit of being so much younger than you that I could see
it.
Everything that you went through.
Exactly.
From young.
And so
You can see it.
that's why I don't think he's rationalizing trauma. I think it's a different thing that he's talking about. He's talking about being able to have the distance and see this affected these people poorly. And maybe I was better off at not having to go through the Vietnam of my family.
Right.
That's what he's
Because not everybody,
Yes,
you're saying there should be growth, but that growth sometimes comes at the expense of the people around you.
That's true. But I think in general growth does, right? Like the math that you are today is not the math that you was 10 years ago.
That's true.
And through that 10 years, you lose people in parts because you're trying to, your point, you're trying to get to this place.
Right.
But for me, I'm talking about something specific. Fatherhood, motherhood. Check that out. How is it that women just have this innate thing in them, physiologically? Most women, generalized. Right.
Generalized.
Most women.
So
Yeah, but no, I'm gonna give you most. I'm gonna give you most. Yes.
I'm generalized.
Yes.
But if you were to do, not a poll, but just sort of a thing,
survey.
most women, it don't even matter. They're gonna take care of that. They gonna, by hook, crook, whatever. Like a woman will sell their body to feed their child.
But dudes are raw. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Follow me. That thing there, I always go back to the divine. And what is that? What are we here for? And especially as Black people, everything about our culture has been ripped away from us. Our tongue, our history, our family, structure,
Credit.
our everything, our science.
My science, that's what I'm talking about. Credit that we invented the light bulb.
You
and
know what I'm saying?
everything
So
was
when
taken.
you think along those lines and then you get back to family, that's why I say, at least for myself, I don't have regrets with my father because I told him I forgave him. And I told him I loved him. And I tried to love him in the way that the situation was presented. And I know that to be true because if you had my little sister right here, right now, she'll be like, no, he was my father.
Right.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work you heard. Making fiends leave earth you heard. Got your baby mama thirst you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf you heard.